welcome back once again to After the Credits. Wow, what is going on with my hair today? It is horrible. Anyway, I just got up a little while ago, but I wanted to get in this second review for the movie I saw the other day. As I mentioned at the end of, or at the beginning of the Masked Saint review, ended up going and seeing 2 out of the 4 movies at the Dollar Theater. And the second one was one of the ones I originally went over there to see, and that was The Finest Hours. So what did I think of this movie? It was okay for what it was. It's basically the telling of 2 separate stories that eventually merged together. The one story could have been better. Like, I understand why it's there, but it kind of took away from... You essentially have like these 2 kind of action-based movies where they kind of keep you in suspense as whether or not these guys are going to make it out, what's going to happen next. But then the one story is kind of like half a love story, which isn't really bad in its own right, but at the same time kind of takes away from what's going on. Like, I understand why it's there, because the guy has to have a reason to want... He has to have a reason, a drive to want to get back, other than, just saving these people and getting them back home. So I understand why it's there, but at the same time, I don't think it was as much of a necessity to the story as they tried to make it. They could have just had it kind of be a thing at the beginning of the story, but then kind of, just focused on the other 2 stories, but they kept like harping back to the love story. And it's like, it didn't really add anything to the movie, but at the same time, it didn't really take too much away from it. Yeah, so basically, the movie is more or less everything you see in the preview. We start out with the guy meeting the girl, and they kind of fall for each other, head over heels, like love at first sight type of thing. They're together for a while, and she kind of asks, like, why don't you propose to me? And he's kind of like, being a Coast Guard man, some of the guys go out and they never come back. I don't want to put you through that. I love you too much. And she's like, well, I wouldn't be with you if I wasn't willing to take that. So he's like, fine, I'll marry you. So then they're engaged. They're not planning to get married till like April, and it's like middle of winter. So he goes to work at the Coast Guard, and there's a ship that gets caught in the storm, and a bunch of the Coast Guard guys go out from like the neighboring areas to try and rescue the ship. And they keep having this blip show up on their radar that they think is a phantom because their radar had been broken, and one of the guys who wasn't trained to repair it got it working. He goes, no, we're still going to phantom image. There's no ship in that area. Turns out there was a ship in that area, and it was also in distress, but they didn't know it. So while all the other Coast Guards are out trying to rescue the one ship they did know about, there's no one going to rescue this other ship. So he gets sent out to try to rescue this other ship the best he can. He's given the smallest boat they have in their fleet because all the other ones are already out trying to rescue the other ship. So he takes, his crew out, and they go trying to rescue the ship. And, that's kind of enough, like his adventure with his small crew of like 3 guys and trying to get out there to this ship to rescue it. And it's like no one thinks he's going to be able to make it. So, him pushing through and how he's overcoming the obstacles and stuff is enough of a story. But they keep cutting back to his girlfriend, like, coming to the Coast Guard office and, like, yelling at his commanding officer and, like, all this other stuff with her that, yeah, they could have had her be, worrying about him and stuff. And, like, I understand, like, the part where she's in the Coast Guard office, but beyond that, like, why they keep following her after that instead of just kind of letting her, kind of fade out until the end is what really threw me off. It's like, okay, this is a lot of padding that doesn't need to be here because this is over a 2-hour movie. And I was like, a lot of this could have been cut out, like the scenes with her. I mean, there's like one main driven scene that kind of ties up some loose ends with her, but they could have just had that at some point. We didn't really need to keep following her around. So that's like two parts of the one story, and then the other part of the story is the survivors of the ship that got wrecked that, you know, he's going out to rescue. They only have half a ship. Their ship split in two. One half of it sank somehow, because I would assume they all have the same bulkheads, considering where it ripped, and the other part should be afloat as well, but no, that one goes down right away. And they're in the tail end, which is staying afloat, and they're trying to keep it afloat long enough to get rescued. So then you're kind of following these guys around on the ship, trying to rig up a system, because half their systems are gone. You know, they're trying to figure out ways to keep the ship afloat, keep the pumps running, all that kind of stuff. And that's probably actually the more interesting of the two stories. But like I said, you know, the Coast Guard guy trying to pilot this small vessel out to this ship in the middle of a huge storm, you know, like hurricane weather, is interesting to see how he's overcome the obstacles. But the main story here is the guys on the boat, in my opinion. And I think we take away a lot of their time that could have been used to better flesh out their story by focusing on the woman that's back on the shore waiting for her guy to come home. Yeah, like I said, just a little bit of restructuring there would have been good. But so we follow these guys. They managed to keep the ship afloat. Spoilers, by the way. He shows up to rescue him, and his little boat is only really equipped to hold about 12 to 13 people. And at that point, you know, he's always been the kind that kind of follows the rules, you know, everything to a T. And this is the point where he's finally like, you know, screw regulations, you know, how many can she actually hold safely? And his second in command's like, realistically, probably about 20 to 22 tops before we take on too much weight. Turns out there's about 30 people on board the ship. They managed to get them all off, spoiler, by the way. And then they have no compass, so they're like, well, how do we get back home? And they managed to make contact with another ship that says, you know, we're like 6 miles out from your last known location. Just meet us there and we'll take you guys in. And he's kind of hesitant. He's like, I just got you off a ship, and now they want me to take you further out to sea. He's like, you know, that's probably not the best idea. So he's like, well, let's just try and find our way back. Even if we miss our port, maybe we'll find another port. I'm not going to tell you if they actually make it back or not, but it's a movie, so you figure it out. But yeah, everything kind of resolves, and then it kind of tells, you know, how it's based on a real story, and tells you like what happened to everyone at the end. Like I said, overall, not a bad film for what it was. The pacing was a little off, and like I said, I understand why the love story was there, but a lot of that could have been cut out in favor of the other two stories. So overall, as far as a star rating on this one, I would give it I'd give it about a, I really hate to say this, but I'd give it a 2.5. I kind of want to give it a 3 just because, you know, like I said, it's a solid movie for what it was, but it is kind of just a middle-of-the-road movie. They give you basically the entire story in the preview. I'm knocking it down to a 2.5 just because of the pacing issue, and had they cut out a little bit more of the love story and focus more on the two main stories and just sprinkled in the love story here and there where it was needed, it probably would have remained a 3. But because that part kind of threw me off a little bit, I'm knocking it down to a 2.5. But overall, it's still a good movie. If it seemed like your type of movie from the preview, check it out. You'll probably enjoy it. But like I said, they give away most of it in the preview, and it is based on a real story, so you could probably just easily look it up and find out what happened. But yeah, so that is it for this episode of After the Credits. That is my review of The Finest Hours. I'm probably going to head back over to the Dollar Theater tomorrow. Like I said, there's still 2 more movies over there that I want to go see, so I'll probably knock those out tomorrow. So you'll be seeing those coming up soon. But until then, as always, thanks for watching. Remember to like, comment, rate, subscribe, share the video. Links are up here and down in the description. And until next time, we'll see you after the credits.